Hey, welcome everybody to With Thunderous Applause, a podcast where two friends get together to discuss the events and ideas that will shape our uncertain future. I am your host, Steve, along with my co host, Zach. What is up?
Not a lot. It's only been like 2 days since we last talked, and I haven't done a whole lot. I've really been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 like a lot of other people. I'm definitely like helping them get to that, 1 million concurrent players mark, hopefully.
Oh, you think there's going to be a billion?
No, a million.
A
Currently
million.
they got to like 817,000, but I mean, that was like their
Are you
peak
guys
and
like
it's
trying to
down.
crash the servers or something?
No, it's just, it's a massive game in terms of scope made by like a not huge indie company that is primarily a single player game with very little in the way of like you can choose to fight each other, but there's no like rules where you go into an arena and fight each other
Mm-hmm.
yet. And so it's got like a huge rating on Metacritic. And so it's just like, hey, everyone says that AAA games has to cost or have to cost a fortune, can only be made by huge studios. Eh? Eh? Like
Yeah.
maybe we can, like do this differently.
Admittedly, a couple days ago, I finally downloaded Steam and just searched around for like a free to play.
Yeah.
And been playing a game called Paths of Exile.
Yes, Path of Exiles. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
you
like
played that one?
for a little bit, it's like Diablo 3.
Oh, is
Um
it? Okay.
yeah, very similar. I mean, it's like all the Diablos, but much more intricate character customization. So I mean,
Mm.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty
I don't
submitted.
know. I've just been kind of going through the story, and it looks like that you can make teams and or
Yeah.
guilds or whatever, and there's some kind of PvP or like competitive type thing that you can get involved in. But I'm just kind of playing through it, something to do.
Yeah, it's fun.
So.
I still recommend downloading Epic if you haven't already, and just checking in like a couple times a
Because that's the
week.
one with all the old games, right?
Free games is what it is, and they're not even
Oh,
all that old. Like I got a game from like 2 years ago for free. So
okay. Yeah, I just searched for the free to play category on
yeah, yeah,
Steam.
yeah. Path of
Anyway,
Exile is pretty good.
yeah, and I'm not opposed to it. I kind of spent maybe an hour or so flipping through and looking, and I'm not opposed to spending money on a game, especially
Why?
one that doesn't like require you to spend money to
Yeah,
succeed, you know?
yeah. And I think that's the thing is that game is like, oh, I have to quit because my kid's calling me or something like that, and you can just exit out, and it's no big deal. Whereas a lot of games, it's like, oh, there's no pause button, and I'm in the middle of something that I can't just back out of very easily. I'm sure my kid will be okay.
Excellent. All right. Well, today's like shooting the Poodoo, I think 29,
28, I believe.
28.
Yeah.
Cool. And we're actually recording this Wednesday because I will be gone tomorrow when we air
Yeah.
this. So,
Trying a new thing. I don't think I'll edit it because I don't have the time, but we can definitely just throw it up tomorrow.
yeah, I think that's often how a lot of folks that I like to watch do it is that they will do a live stream and then they take the live stream and edit it down into clips
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I would
then
love to
re-air those clips.
yeah,
And so sometimes I'm like, fuck, I'm annoyed
because I've
or
already seen this.
no, I mean, yeah. So sometimes there'll be clips and be like, oh, I watched this on the live stream. I just skip those clips.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but more often than not, it's like, oh, I ducked out of the live stream for whatever reason. There was a different live stream I was more interested in,
Right.
or the people in the chat were being kind of shitty, or the person who does the show,
You
the
can
host
call
of the show
out.
themselves.
You don't have to look at that.
Yeah, but that's the whole reason I watch live streams.
Oh, I just watch them because like I think you get more engagement if you want it. Well, like there are definitely times when I've watched live streams and engage, but I'm typically engaging with the person on the stream, not the community. I'm also very anti-sleep,
Yeah.
so
Well, sometimes we'll have good conversations in the chat, and sometimes the chat is not really a cool place to hang out at that particular moment. Sometimes people are just having you come into it and they're already having their own conversation, and
Yeah.
so it's not really participatory, but a lot of the times I think I stop watching live streams because the host is saying something that's just either they're like struggling to, like, they're trying to fill time but they don't have a lot to say, or they're not really prepared in their thoughts, or the third option would be they have like a shitty take, or they're interpreting something or making something bigger than it actually is.
That happens a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've actually covered a lot of people that are doing that, trying to make a mountain out of a molehill.
So speaking of which, we're doing Shooting the Poodoo, so we have a fun, really low key show.
Easy to produce. That's the language we want.
Easy to produce. So one of the things, speaking of hype or something that gets overhyped, is there's this song. I think I referred to it when we spoke Monday. People are calling it like a working class anthem. Wealthion, which is a channel, it's a financial news and analysis channel, so strictly like fucking Wall Street, like that's all they talk about. And investments, right? Like it's the exact opposite of like working class politics. They did Adam Taggart, the host there, did a piece on this fucking thing, talking about how it really like taps into this like dissatisfaction in the American working class, which it obviously did. But and most other people I've heard talk about it are like, oh my God, this is like the anthem that we need to rally the working class together against the fucking rich people and blah, blah. But it's not. Like, and I listened to it. My immediate reaction was like,
did you ever figure out what it was called?
Yeah, I sent you the link via text. I don't know if you saw it.
Anyway, go ahead, keep talking.
Yeah, no worries. So the guy's name is Oliver Anthony, I think, and he lives in
there it is,
Central Virginia. He sorry about that. I was just trying to smoke a joint, and text was easier than uploading to the form. Although that does you no good because your texts don't come to the computer.
No, they don't. I mean, I have it on the desk.
Okay.
Sometimes I don't notice it.
All right.
Focus.
Well, it's interesting because some people have said this, it's like a working class anthem to unite the working class against the fucking rich people or whatever.
Shall we listen?
I heard, yes, we're going to listen to it, but I did not hear that when I listened to it.
Gotcha.
I see it as kind of, hiding lots of dangerous right-wing ideas behind a facade of like working class solidarity.
Yeah, country.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but a good portion of it.
So let's go ahead and listen to it, and then we can comment. And of course, folks should go watch his video and send him money. Like, he blew up. Like, I'm not sure if they're gonna like really copyright claim anything on it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he went from like,
it's got 17 million views.
Yeah, no, that's why people were talking about it, because it went from this guy being just kind of like a, kind of a local thing, like local phenomena, to just like this song apparently like fucking blew up.
Yeah.
And that's why this particular version has whatever 17 million. When it got posted to Twitter, it got millions and millions and millions of views and shares on Twitter, which I don't think get counted on YouTube when you play in the embedded player, do they?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, so 17 million is a fraction of the actual views it got.
Yeah.
But let's listen to it. It is a very good song. Well written, and he does a great job singing it. I don't throw it out there up front.
Yes, but he has no soul.
Is it a ginger joke?
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. 'Cause the rich men, know the rich men. I wish politicians would look out for miners, and not just miners on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. Well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds,
Who? Milking welfare? Did you hear it?
Who's milking welfare?
ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare.
Obese.
Well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. 'Cause the rich men, north of rich men.
Okay.
No.
Very good.
Yeah. So first thing I notice is he says "New World, Old Soul," and I'm immediately questioning what is new to you and what makes you old. That opens up a lot of things, like is your progressiveness new and you're against it? I don't know. But then he says, like rich men want it all. It's like, that ain't new. Fucking rich men have wanted to control the world forever.
Right. And he talks about the total control.
Yeah.
Right. And so like there's kind of like Bilderberg New World Order vibes to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing that like Adam Taggart brought up is like, oh yeah, he's talking about how like people's purchasing power is down because of taxation. And it's like,
Right.
That's not why our purchasing power is down.
Yeah.
Our purchasing power is down because we printed money for the fucking banks.
Right.
Now,
and other things.
Yes, exactly. Among other things, sure. Like the social welfare state, but like why? Because we were busy fucking printing money, giving it to the banks, and spending like trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars on fucking war for the last 2 fucking decades. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a great meme that's been going around, where it's like, oh, we're giving $100 million to the people in Hawaii who lost their houses, and then we're giving like $2 billion to Ukraine.
The most recent package is like 24, I think.
Okay, there you go. That's worse. Yeah,
that is a larger number than 2.
That is a larger. That is times 10 at least. If my yes,
almost 12 times larger, I think. I'm not a math wizard, but
not a math surgeon over here.
Math surgeon. Yeah. So then there's this like kind of like embedded in there this idea. So you have New World Order stuff, right? Yeah. And then you have Epstein's Island, right? Like, oh, he cared about minors instead of minors.
That was cute.
Like a play on words.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, again, it's like I saw somebody write, and I forget who it was, but it was one of the like writer wing channels that I listened to, and called that the anthem for the Second American Civil War.
Oh, that's bad.
That is not a unifying working class anthem if people are like, yes, that speaks to me and how we're going to go to war with all these people we disagree with. All the people who are grooming children for Epstein's Island. All of the people who are on obese on welfare. He's like, oh, yeah, like fucking why are we working ourselves to death so that these fucking fat fuckers can have fudge rounds? Like, that doesn't sound like fucking like someone who actually fucking understands the issue. Yeah. Although he appears poor, probably knows, and he's in Virginia, probably knows some fat fucking motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Right? But the complaint is that some people are working and their money is getting taxed so much and they're barely scraping by. But then there's these welfare queens who are 5'3" and weigh 300 pounds. Like, right. That doesn't sound like working class solidarity, considering tell me the last time you saw a fucking terribly obese, filthy fucking rich person.
I mean, pretty frequently.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of them are older, but yeah, the new guard or the nouveau riche.
Oh, sure. And I'm not talking about like a 60 or 70-year-old that's like packing an extra 80 pounds.
Yeah. But
I'm talking about
your average Silicon Valley billionaire is like drinking the blood of their children to stay young. So I mean,
my point being is that it's much more common for the fucking desperately poor to be overweight like that.
Yeah. Well, and what rings hollow, for his argument is the fact that like Massachusetts passed a millionaire's tax very recently, and it's set to basically feed children at school. So like, yeah, taxes can do some good shit if you pressure your government, or if your government's already predisposed towards helping the people that need the help. So I mean, like,
right.
I don't know. Anytime someone attacks taxes,
evil conspiracy of fucking pedophiles who are taking all your money, all your hard-earned money in taxes, and it completely glosses over any of the actual structural problems that give rise to this thing. And so when people are like, oh yeah, it's a working class anthem, I'm like, that's not what I hear. I hear more this Second American Civil War. It's the war cry of the fascists.
Right.
Because that's their complaint. Not saying that everybody who thinks that's a fascist, but when it all boils down, it will be fascists versus anti-fascists.
Yeah. Think not. You might want to reanalyze yourself, because maybe you are.
Yeah, the Second American Civil War will be fascist. The fascists will win, and the insurgency will be the anti-fascists. Yeah. I don't see it going any other way.
So we'll be very ready, because it's basically Star Wars.
Space fascism.
Earth fascism.
So anyway, like, what are your take on it? Am I just being kind of an asshole about it?
No, I mean, I already stated, like, it sounds like he's just like, when he says old soul, I'm like, I don't think you think that you're wise or anything like that. I think that like you've been raised in a certain way that you're just like, I think the same way as people did back in the day.
And I don't like it. I don't feel comfortable in a changing world, because my soul belongs to a bygone era. That's what
very, very well worded. Yes, that's going to be a clip for sure.
What's that?
So that's going to be a clip for sure.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, I don't know, man. It just like got passed around as like this really great thing that's really kind of tapping into this anger in the society. Yeah, I'm sure it is, because that's what we're told to be angry at. We're told to be angry at people who get welfare and fucking are and are overweight.
Well, and the thing is, like, music has been tapping into this for a long time, just different types of music and from different points of view. Like, there are people that have been on the receiving end of welfare who have written a whole lot of music about their experience on welfare. And like the fact that we have a whole system of welfare that's set up to make it so that you get the bare minimum, and if you ever do anything more, you more or less lose money by going up the socioeconomic scale and getting a better job. Because we don't have like a sliding scale where it's like, oh yeah, you get this much assistance when you make this much, and it just slowly decreases until the point where you don't need it anymore. Instead, it's like somewhere around here, we take you off of it. You're actually back further than you were when you didn't have a job, now explain to me why you should have a job.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. You wouldn't want a job because you get less money.
Yeah, in rich men north of Richmond,
Yeah.
like ultimately he's talking about the Beltway, which is fine.
Beltway, well, and talking about
the politicians, but there's a lot of resentment because the DC area is wealthy, not just because of politicians. There's only a few, like maybe several thousand elected and appointed officials in Washington, D.C. The vast majority of people that make a shit ton of money are fucking high-level government bureaucrats, right?
Yeah.
And also lots and lots and lots of business lobbyists, corporations, military and other government contractors.
Let us not forget the evil of people who, create housing and create buildings and, get, sweet deals from their friends and
landlords,
high places. Well, landlords, your construction companies.
Yeah, exactly. And then everything else, all the services for everybody, they make good money. That it's just a region that has more money in it because the federal government spends money there.
Yeah.
It's actually a testament to fucking, to Keynesianism, honestly. When you look at how wealthy it is, you're like, because the government spends money there, a lot of money there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like when he says Richmond, north of Richmond, they're not talking about just a corrupt political class. Because clearly that was not, and while maybe the ire for the political establishment was not explicitly partisan, and moreover can transcend partisan divides. It's all about how you read it. And so unless and I'm not saying he needs to change his lyrics, like there's a way, like song lyrics sometimes fall into place as someone who's written poetry and written songs. Like, not that I'm a musician, but I have dabbled in songwriting. And what's that?
Oh, I was just thinking of that song from back in the early years of college. And they march wearing a young bitch.
Yeah. I've dabbled in songwriting and dabbled in poetry and rap, writing rap and stuff like that too. Like from time I was in high school, really.
Yeah.
And not recently, and it goes through phases, but I have. And so I understand that like sometimes you can write it and it just kind of falls into place and you're like, that's it. I got the chorus line, I got this, it's got this flow that I want. He's able to sing it with a lot of passion. And if you chopped it up anymore, it wouldn't have that kind of like twangy, whiny kind of ballady kind
that
of
about
feel
country.
To it. What?
The whiny, twangy, that is the thing that makes me hate country. Just like sing like a normal person, you little bitch.
Well, I mean, I think there's a time and place for it. That definitely has a really solid folk vibe to it. So the twang bothers me less than when they force the twang on like essentially a pop song, which is like top 40 country. I fucking hate that shit. And at any rate, like, so I'm not like knocking the song, but like the things he chose not to include to help give context. I have yet to see. I've seen some of the stuff he said in interviews, or people bring up things he said before, or public statements or statements that attributed to him. And it does seem like he's a bit post-partisan in his hate, but it's really important that if you're not clarifying in your art what you mean, then people can interpret it any way they want. And most people, that most of the many, many millions of people who have watched this are interpreting Richmond, north of Richmond, to be like fucking the professional class.
Yeah.
The lawyers, right? The doctors, the lobbyists.
It's kind of fucked up too, because like a lot of poetry, music, art, human creation that is, creative is meant to be available to interpretation. Like, and it kind of sucks that, you're saying like, maybe they need more clarification. And there are plenty of of interviews, where someone's like, oh, what about this? And you're like, no, what? How did you get that from our song? And they're like, I don't know. People are just saying it. And it's like, that's not what it's about. It's about this, like, nope. But good try, everyone. And then there are other artists that'll be, like, well, that's the beauty of my art, is you can take it however you want it. But I feel like that's the one where it's like, I'm making millions and I don't want to threaten that.
Yeah. It's like, no, this song is not about a fish.
Yeah. Well, and then
it's about heroin addiction.
Yeah, you about anyway. Yeah, because there have been plenty of artists who will come out when some celebrity or another uses their song in a way that is like not at all their intention, like Bruce Springsteen,
or when someone like Paul Ryan was using a Rage Against the Machine song as his like campaign song.
Yeah, and it's like, you are the machine, you dumb fuck.
Yeah, and Rage Against the Machine, Tom Morello, I think, wrote him. It's like, you cease and desist, bro. Like, no.
Who did you think? Well, and the thing is, it's already done, though. The damage is done. All the people who like that person have got it in their mind. It's just like, Twisted Sisters and We're Not Gonna Take It. And I think it was Bush who walked out to that, and they were like, no, you're literally what we're not taking. Like, stop it.
Yeah. And so there's a lot to it. And I don't think it's his responsibility to put more effort, because sometimes music just is. And I think that he maybe very well worked fairly hard on that. I think as a song, it works.
Yeah.
I just don't think this guy should be praised by people on the left as like, and this song should be praised as some like anthem for the working class, because it is not.
Right. He would have to
very much othering. It very has those are the bad guys vibe.
He would have to come out with a very public statement that stated unequivocally what he was saying, and just be like, those of you that think it's something else, you're wrong, in order to get any sort of appreciation in my book.
Yeah, and I think it does a disservice, because people are dumb. They're just fucking dumb, bro. We live in a country, we live in a world, but especially in the United States, people are fucking imbeciles. They're imbeciles. And
they're nice.
They hear this and this goes viral. And so you just had, say, 40 million people hear this song, and they're like, yeah, the taxes are too high. When the reality is like, yes, we're not getting what we need out of our taxes, but in the grand scheme of things, your life is not getting harder because of taxes, because guess what? Taxes haven't gone up.
Yeah.
Taxes haven't gone up in decades. And that's part of the problem. The reason that your money has less purchasing power is because we printed money and we refuse to tax it back out, because we don't want, our politicians don't want to tax the rich. But that song didn't say tax the fucking rich. That song said, hey, you fat fucking welfare queen.
Yeah.
Like, you're the other.
King. You don't know.
What's that?
Said or king. You don't know. I mean, 5'3". I know some guys that are, around that height. I used to work for one of them.
At any rate, it's just fucking dangerously stupid. And that's like Adam Taggart comes up and he says it, and he's like, dude, you literally work in financial stuff, and you fucking used to work with Chris Martenson, who's been all about fucking Fed shenanigans. And all you guys talked about for years and years and years was how fucking Fed policy was creating a fucking financial nightmare, because it kept kicking the can and was allowing really bad, really unstable things to develop because of bad policy. And so he knows that, but then he's like, oh yeah, this sounds great. Like, people are really upset that the taxes are taking all their money. Taxes are not taking all of our money.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, per the agreement that we have in holding a country together, the taxes should come back to benefit us in ways that we might be otherwise unwilling to use our own dollars. And that's just not happening a lot of times. And that's why people are so mad. Like, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I'm not mad about taxes. I'm mad about the way they're spent. Like, I don't think we should have the biggest military in the world, or, I don't think that we should be, giving a whole bunch of money to other countries to fight our wars for us.
I don't think that we should spend 65 to 70 cents of every fucking dollar on police and military.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
That
I'm
includes
not mad about
local dollars.
taxes.
I don't
I'm mad
wanna
about how
spend
they're spent.
65 cents of every dollar in taxes I pay to fucking cops.
Yeah. If you didn't know,
Especially when
we're
not
big
one penny
fans.
goes to fucking housing.
Yeah.
How about this? I'll give 30 cents for cops if 35 cents goes to shit that actually matters.
We're gonna bargain here like we should have. That's the thing too, is like anyone who says I wasn't there to agree to the social contract has a valid point. And we need to rewrite the social contract on a regular basis. I think one of the founding fathers said that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was like 27 years.
We need to rewrite the Constitution too.
Yeah. We need to start.
That's
start
not going to happen without a civil war, and the civil war is lining up to be people that think that every affluent. I don't even want to say wealthy because they're not the 1%. They're certainly the top 20%, though. The professional classes.
Well, I mean, it's like Chris Rock said: there's rich and there's wealthy, and wealthy writes the paycheck for the rich.
Yeah, Shaq, he's rich.
Yeah,
guy writes check. He's wealthy.
Yep,
it was a great bit.
It was a great bit. It holds true. I actually saw a recent one where he was like talking about the slapping, and he was like, "People are asking me all the time, I'm mad," and I'm like, "No, man, I'm not mad. I followed him all the way around. I made fun of his wife. Whoops." He's like, "But you know what, though? Anytime I'm feeling like I might be getting mad, I just put on Emancipation and watch him get his ass whipped."
Emancipation?
It's either a movie or a TV show about the Emancipation Proclamation, the freedom of the slaves, and apparently Will Smith gets his ass whipped. So he's just like, I can always put that on. Watch him get what's coming.
I heard Chris Rock say something to the effect is every time I start to get upset that happened to me, I just remember that he's the one that had to basically go around in public with his wife being a goddamn hoe.
Nice.
Right? I mean, I don't know the exact, but I think that was kind of what was going on, right? Like,
the joke was just about G.I. Jane, because G.I. Jane had to shave for the role or shave her head for the role, and Jada Pinkett Smith is like, I don't know if she was undergoing chemo or if it was like alopecia, I think it's called, where your immune system's just like, hair bad, kill hair. I think it was that. And so he made a joke, and people are like, "Well, it was low hanging fruit," and it's like, yeah.
No, I think that joke was rooted in something like some very public part of their private relationship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I think that
I don't pay attention to.
I think that she wanted to open the relationship up. I don't actually know, which I don't have a fucking problem with. But like,
I mean, my understanding is he a hoe too. So like, sounds like
more power too.
He had what he wanted, and she wanted it too.
Maybe I thought I kind of took it as her being kind of the alpha in the relationship, but I don't know because I don't actually give a shit.
I mean, she did order around
celebrities.
True, yeah.
Beyond,
she did order around the what?
I don't care about celebrities beyond the very baseline interest in if they'll survive the apocalypse. So moving on to segment 2.
What is the like?
So we're gonna watch some Canadian prepper has been doing this series where he just assesses whether or not rich and famous people, all of them are rich. Margot Robbie's not crazy rich though. I think it says her net worth is like 20 million or 40 million or something, which is a lot, but it's not Bill Gates rich or Kim Kardashian rich, who are both billionaires. So anyway, we're gonna watch some of his shorts, and then maybe we can just watch the short, pause, discuss that individual briefly, and then watch the next one, and then at the end we'll kind of discuss the overall idea of this, and then where we think we might fit, or how we might judge people differently.
I'm gonna step out for this one, hopefully less than the time it takes to play. But I suspect that no matter how he rates him, he has enough power and influence that even with the failure of like one currency, he could definitely find other ways to bring people to heal.
Oh, Bill Gates?
Yeah.
100%. Play it. So go do your thing.
Likelihood that Bill Gates will survive the apocalypse.
We have to make sure that we're ready because there will be another pandemic.
The 67-year-old is known for his warnings about bioweapons, AI, and climate chaos. Bill and Melinda Gates had been stockpiling food and other necessities for years before the recent pandemic. He has a very large self-sustainable compound in Medina, Washington, and is rumored to have built doomsday bunkers under every one of his properties. This home has a freshwater lake, solar panels for electricity, and artificial streams that are home to a healthy supply of salmon and trout. It also has a secret tunnel entrance connecting his home to the highway. With a net worth of $131 billion and 270,000 acres of land under his possession, he has no shortage of resources to ride out the apocalypse. He also has numerous aircraft that he can use to bug out, assuming his pilots and armed guards remain loyal. Bill Gates is not renowned for his physical fitness and appears to have little interest in firearms, relying heavily on his sizable security team. Overall, we rank Bill Gates as having a 73% chance of surviving the proverbial end of days. Let us know who you'd like us to rank next. What is the likelihood that Bill Gates will survive the apocalypse?
And we have to make sure that we're ready because there will be another pandemic.
The 67-year-old is known for his...
Oh, thanks, Zach.
We're back.
So, turn your camera on.
Yeah.
Hey, there you are.
Hey.
Hey, hey.
Hey. Dude, I had that power, man.
What's that?
Said I had that power. I was the scanner whisperer. Be like, it's not working. Put me on the phone. Transfer me back to the station. I'm gonna scare it straight. Hey.
I love it.
Those of you who don't know, there was a show. I think it was late 50s, maybe early 60s. It was called Happy Days. Arthur Fonzarelli, played by Henry Winkler, was a cool guy.
Have you ever seen Barry?
No, I've heard about it, and I feel like I should watch it.
It's dark and it's been really hard for us to watch it because like sometimes we just want to watch something upbeat because we don't watch that much TV.
Yeah.
But it's pretty fucking dark, but it's also very funny, like in a dark humor way. And Henry Winkler plays a acting coach, and
oh, nice.
It's fucking great.
Nice. I tend to like dark humor. It's hard to get the wife to want to watch it. She talks about how they're only shows, but then gets like really into it too at the same time.
Bill Hader's fucking hilarious, and he is a writer, a producer, the lead actor, and he has written himself into a show where he plays an assassin who wants to be an actor.
An ass actor.
Assassin. It's as hilarious as you think that might be. It's making fun of Hollywood culture.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of other things, and he's like a cold-blooded killer trying to play someone who's like not himself. And
it makes me think about playing fucking Dungeons and Dragons. Like I've had characters who are just like, I'm very evil, but I have very good acting skills, and so I will convince the township that I am their savior.
Yeah, it reminds me of when Arya Stark failed to assassinate her mark.
Oh yeah.
When she was gonna kill that actress,
and
couldn't bring herself to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. So Bill Gates, he keeps supplies. He has bunkers. He has a lot of people around him,
security,
whose loyalty would probably be for sale, as far as like drivers, pilots, security guards. And then he's like, and he's kind of like, he doesn't take his physical fitness very seriously, and has zero interest in, or seems to have no interest in firearms, but he's got like a bunch of arms cards.
Yeah, I mean, for someone his age, he's not unfit.
Yeah, he's not terrible.
Yeah. He's fitter than I. I'll give him that.
Yeah, exactly. At any rate, they gave him a 73, which seemed
low.
Honestly, it seems kind of high on it, but we can get into why I think all of these are rated high later.
I think you can buy your way out of any apocalypse.
I think it depends on the type of apocalypse. I think if we're just talking about like economic collapse, maybe like regional food insecurity and all the other things that like are kind of like going to happen, those won't fucking phase him. But like strategic nukes start flying and wiping out cities. True. He's like near on the coast of Washington, which is not very well suited to like a known geologic hazard. like the Cascadia subduction zone. Like,
oh, we're gonna link that.
What's that?
So we're linking that.
Yeah, I mean, you're familiar with it, right?
Yeah. We've covered a video.
Yeah, it's like every 300 years, like there's a big fucking quake that pretty much wipes all that out.
Yeah.
So having a fucking house, a big mansion by the water, it doesn't fucking matter, man.
The thing is, he's going to have high ground compared to those around him. It might not be high enough.
Not
there's so many
evidence that they've said of how big it could potentially be.
Right.
If it is that
I'm
big,
saying
like,
he's better positioned than other people, and he's got a helicopter.
Yeah.
So he might lose his mansion, but he's got a helicopter. It's kind of funny if you think about like all the times you've watched some sort of documentary and they say, oh, it's a once in a this and we're overdue for the next one. It seems like the number of things we're overdue outnumber the, things that are just like, oh, it's about to approach its, periodicity. Like one that I look forward to, but don't think it'll ever happen in my lifetime, is the explosion of a supernova. Like, it can be life-threatening if it's blasted right at us, but it would have to be pretty close. And like, I'm like, hey, it's overdue. Can I have one, please? Like, I want to go outside for like a month and have it be lit up at midnight. Moon or no moon. Sounds fun. But yeah, all these other things, though, are definitely.
Wouldn't it be basically kind of like Aurora Borealis, but like it would be outside of the poles?
I don't believe so.
It would just be like a cloud of stellar dust, like lightning.
No. Most of the things that have ever happened have been too far away. We've done a pretty good survey of the closest stars, and it doesn't appear as though any of them are anywhere near their end of life. But like, I think it was like 1030 AD, the Chinese recorded a supernova in the sky, and now in the area they described, we see the Crab Nebula, and so like and then a few others have happened, but we're overdue by like 30 years, and I'm just like, come on. It'd be a cool thing to just walk outside and be like, oh, it's nighttime. And
then we're about ready for volcanic eruptions on any number of mountains within the North American part of the Ring of Fire.
Yeah,
the Cascadian subduction zone happens like once every 350 years or so. It's about 350 years since the last one.
I think we're overdue for hot naked ladies falling from the sky.
That's right,
because they don't just do that.
That's what we're overdue for. We're overdue for fucking cocaine and titties.
Snorting cocaine off of hookers' asses.
All right, let's play the next one. So we did Bill Gates.
What is the likelihood that Margot Robbie will survive the apocalypse?
Do you guys ever think about dying?
Although now widely known for her hyper-effeminate role in Barbie, Margot's roles in action films have given her plenty of experience that will help her when society crumbles. Whether it's the gymnastics she used to perform her own stunts, boxing and martial arts training for combat scenes, firearms training for her role as Harley Quinn, she has plenty of Hollywood skills that may be transferable to the proverbial end of days. With a net worth of $40 million and climbing, she has more than enough resources to buy infinite amounts of freeze-dried food. The question is, will she? She also has a small private security team due to stalkers and death threats. However, she's more than just a pretty face. She grew up on her grandparents' farm, which taught her hunting, fishing, and outdoor survival skills. Robbie currently lives in
62.
LA, which besides the weather will be a terrible place to ride out the apocalypse. And because she doesn't have a private jet, she may just be stuck there. Overall, we rank Margot as having a 70% chance of surviving the apocalypse.
So 3% less than fucking Gates, who's got a huge security team, a bunch of mobility.
She's reliant upon him to get her out of there on his private jet.
Right. And so like it is funny too the way that he I don't know how they did it, and I'm not casting shade. I think it's a great thing for them to make shorts out of. It's interesting, it's entertaining. Yeah, they do a good job over there, Canadian Prepper. Most of it's done by the who he calls the communist cameraman.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like an inside joke to just call each other. I genuinely think that his politics are considerably left of his audience, and so he just kind of treats those things like a joke.
Drags it a little, right? Yeah,
because he's always talking about calling his employees comrade.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's 70% versus Bill Gates is 73. Bill Gates has fucking bunkers, so he could, he could survive fallout.
So you're calling into question his whole methodology.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't think that her learning firearms to play Harley Quinn in Birds of Prey or whatever, like, is enough to get you're like not really proficient. You might have enough. You could feel comfortable handling it. Like you're not afraid of firearms,
well,
but you're
it
not
brings
going to
into
necessarily
question.
be accurate or proficient. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that is what comes into question. Are like, was your firearms training just like, hey, this end goes towards target. Here's how to pull. Here's how it's going to kick back. Like let's practice some so you're used to how much it kicks. Or is it like John Wick training?
Yeah, and I was actually going to bring up John Wick because I've heard he actually underwent very, very extensive firearms training.
Yeah, it was pretty rigorous, lasted several months. He keeps up with it is the most important thing.
That training made him like firearms as a sport, is how I understand it. Yeah. Whereas, like, how far did Margot Robbie go with her martial training? Yeah, physical training is part of most actors. I don't know how much of an edge that gives you, especially when you're kind of like, okay, growing up on a ranch or a farm probably has done more than anything she's done while acting.
Right. And well, we all know that Keanu Reeves is going to be the immortal dictator of Canada after the end times, because he'll be benevolent, but he's still going to be a dictator because he does know best.
Of course. All right, let's watch the next one.
How likely is Kim Kardashian to survive the apocalypse?
If I had to look into some kind of like survival shelters,
we are going to go to a bunker.
The 42-year-old star with a net worth of $1.7 billion is also preparing for the end of days. Her Hidden Hills mansion in Malibu is reported to have Pentagon-level security and is manned 24 hours a day by a 4-person team. Kim is also well known for aspirations to build a massive doomsday bunker for her family. Even if Kim has strict views on gun control, her security team is definitely packing heat. Her home also features a massive gym that she uses to work out 5 to 6 days a week to keep that physique that she's renowned for. But are these workouts functional? With her Prom Brom Iron Diamonds armored vehicle and $150 million private jet, she's able to bug out to pretty much anywhere, even to her Glass Lake house that's allegedly in a top secret location. But will Kim's lavish lifestyle prepare her for the rigors of post-apocalyptic life? Overall, we rank Kim as having a 70% chance of surviving Armageddon.
Same as Margot Robbie.
Yeah, I don't know. He's ranking
Bill
all
Gates,
these too high.
because she's also a billionaire, also has a private jet, also has bunkers. Also, what makes Bill Gates better positioned than her by 3%? I don't know.
I mean, he should be a lot higher, I think. Just more money, more influence. Like he owns a bunch of farmland. Options. Yeah, he owns a lot of farmland, which means, he's going to have to hire people to protect it. But like, how hard is it to hire someone to protect it when you can promise them food directly?
Yeah, and so he's like, oh, and her secret house, like it's in fucking Idaho. We already know that. That's a vacation house.
Lake Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Thank you, Coeur d'Alene. Yes.
And she might have another one. I mean, when you're that fucking filthy rich, you probably got a few.
Yeah, you get several.
But anyway, it was just interesting. I don't think that her gym has anything to do with her survivability.
I mean, I think he's trying to compare it to the other people, just in terms like the video that you were like, what are you watching? And I was pulling up the like 7 survival things. One of them was like Get Fit Today.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I have a feeling well, I mean, if you watch the Zombieland movies, he had his own rules, and one of them was cardio, because you got to outrun the zombies. And it's very similar. Like, the rules for surviving a zombie apocalypse are very transferable to other apocalypse.
Agreed. All right, last but not least, our friend and yours.
Who did? What?
What is the likelihood that Joe Rogan will survive the apocalypse?
When the shit goes down, the real problem is people that don't have animals or food.
The 56-year-old multi-millionaire podcast host is no stranger to preparedness. As an avid bow hunter, he'll have no problem surviving off the land when the food trucks stop rolling. Through his podcast, Joe has networked with numerous survivalist, military, and martial arts experts and people from all walks of life that inform his strategic way of looking at the world. As a jiu-jitsu and taekwondo black belt, Joe is no stranger to high-stress combative situations and knows how to handle firearms. He's also acquainted with some of the best Navy SEAL and gun aficionados in the industry. And as a backup, he has armed guards who sit outside his home 24/7. Joe currently lives on a freshwater riverfront property on the outskirts of Austin, Texas, a place of moderate population density but a high crime rate. Now, if he lived in a rural off-grid property, his score would have been near perfect. Overall, we rank Joe Rogan as having an 87% chance of surviving the coming cataclysm. What is the...
So 87%.
I don't think that's too wrong.
I don't think that's wrong.
Yeah.
So he does have Joe Rogan's in very good health.
Yeah.
The whole like hunting thing, he does hunt, but if you listen to him talk about hunting, he always gets tags and travels for hunts. He's not hunting in Austin, right?
No, not at all. Yeah.
And so,
however, there is a large boar population.
Yes.
Within like 50 miles that you can go hunt.
Oh yeah, people will finally get rid of the pig problem when they have to eat.
Boarmageddon. I stole that. Say right off the bat. Some more news. Cody Johnston, that's his.
And what do they call it? Boarmageddon?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that I like the way that he phrased it when he said he's had all of these conversations that have framed his strategic thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that didn't come up with the previous three, other than, oh, yeah, Kim Kardashian on her reality TV show needed to fill some time, so she went shopping for a bunker.
Right. That's not strategic or anything. I mean, he could absolutely like get in contact with all those people and form like a team of former military people and call it the Joe Rogan Experience.
Sure.
Like, try to come onto my property. You'll get the full Joe Rogan.
Yeah. And so like, and they mentioned that the size of the city in that one as being small. I agree. Probably going to feel the worst of it a little less than a Margot Robbie or a Kim Kardashian living in LA. And Joe Rogan's probably the poorest out of all of those people that we talked about today. Because I don't think he's that rich. I think his Spotify deal was like he's a multimillionaire, but like
he's got property all over the place too.
Yeah, but he's certainly not close to fucking Kim Kardashian.
No,
and
I don't
Bill
think
Gates is one of the wealthiest people on the planet. So like no one's really close to Bill Gates.
Right. And he doesn't have like a private helicopter, jet, aircraft carrier, whatever.
No. So, I think that again, he's got a compound. Okay, great. That'll help. It depends on the severity, right? If there's a fucking full out exchange of strategic nukes, I think that everybody's survivability approaches zero at some point.
Yeah. And it'll be the survivors, who are going through the toxic hellscape, 5, 10, 20, 30 years later, they'll be the ones. And I have a feeling it'll be a random assortment of people. It'll be like those movies that we all call so unrealistic. It'll be a doctor. It'll be a dentist, a lawyer, a fucking, former congressman. Like the most random people are going to survive this shit for random reasons.
Yeah. And so that's another thing is that they didn't really mention, but fits into the kind of physical fitness regiment and the general kind of like mental state of where he's at. Like the first clip they included, again, which isn't like the entirety of Joe Rogan's thinking on surviving the apocalypse, but he's like, the people this is going to be worse for are people who don't have animals and don't grow food.
Yep.
Like he understands that it's hunger is the real problem.
Right. And so like you and I both have one up on a vast majority of people in that we know how to make plants grow.
No, 100%. Yeah.
Pretty
and that's
reliably.
a good segue into discussing ourselves, because I would actually rank myself very low.
Me too.
But then when it comes to most skills, because like, and for me, it's mental preparedness. So like Joe Rogan does like training to do like to get punched in the fucking face takes an astronomical amount of discipline. Like an astronomical amount of discipline.
Right.
And he's been in that space, and he does the like the ice baths and shit like that all the time, where he like does, and he does these really hard, like he does various kinds of intermittent fasting that
Hot
also
yoga
takes a lot of
followed
discipline. He does these like ice bath things where he like works out really hard, and then he fucking gets into like ice cold water, and then like sits there, and it's like about like kind of like it. They say people who are into it say it like rewires your brain. Like it's really kind of like this intense physical experience that actually has an effect on your mental well-being. But he seems to be most prepared mentally, not just physically, but mentally. Whereas like Bill Gates' entire reason for being is to accumulate more and more money.
Yeah, and I think that Joe Rogan,
if financial system collapses,
yeah,
we're not even talking about like nuclear war. We're just talking about all the other regular apocalypses that are like immediate, right?
Yeah.
When the stock market fucking absolutely collapses, like his wealth will be in land. He'll still have wealth, but he's not going to be. That wealth isn't going to translate into like meaning in his life.
Right. And here's the thing, like I suspect a lot of people that are transitioning their wealth into land think that they'll be able to hold that land. And like you won't. Like once there's no longer a government to go step in and fight your wars for you.
The only reason private property exists is because there's some kind of coercive institution to enforce private property.
And it makes me think about the bullshit that happened in fucking Oregon a while back. What was it, like 6-7 years ago? You know, the people
at the wildlife refuge.
Yeah. You know, they're just like, oh, we're like, you know, we're growing our animals here. This is total bullshit. You say we can't, you know, and right or wrong, they held the property for a while.
Yeah,
and they were white, so they got away with it.
No, they did jail. Most of them got jail time, and I think 2 of them died.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think a couple of them got shot.
Go federal government.
I don't remember all the details, but I do recall many of them going to jail.
Okay.
For like, not
months,
like
probably
long time, but you got 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah. Okay.
In federal prison. So,
which not pound me in the ass prison.
They, no, but I think they would have been fine because they're celebrities in right-wing circles, and there's lots of white nationalists in prisons
who would protect them.
I'm sure they just got rolled up into them as minor celebrities into white nationalist groups, and they went in with, what's the line from Blow? I went in with a bachelor's in marijuana and came out with a PhD in fucking cocaine.
Yeah.
But basically, you know, I went in with a with an associate's degree in rebelling against government and came out with a PhD in fucking organized white nationalism. So yeah, I don't think they talked enough about mental preparedness. I'm not sure where Margot Robbie is. Kim Kardashian, again, other than her kids, right, and having that motherly kind of instinct to ensure the survival of your children.
Mm-hmm.
Life would be so much different under these circumstances we're talking about, that if we're talking about anything that actually destroy all this, the slow collapse of like economic collapse and all that, all of them will be able to survive because they're all rich enough.
Well, and don't forget that a large number of people that have this big affection for their children are faking it. I know people who are faking it. Like I see their Instagram feed and I see reality. They're faking it.
But besides the point, bro, I'm just saying that like their lives, like Kim Kardashian and Bill Gates, need the system as it exists to give their life meaning.
That's true. I mean,
and you take that away from it, and what does Kim Kardashian do when she can't, when like it doesn't matter that you signed a fucking $30 million contract with whatever fancy handbag company or makeup brand? Like it doesn't matter because they're not going to pay you because they don't exist.
Yeah. Do you know if he said that Elon Musk was going to survive?
Did
I
he
picture
I
his
don't think he's done a video on Elon yet.
He has. I have it pulled up right now.
Oh.
I was wondering if you'd already watched it. I think he has very low odds because he actually has very few skills, and he tends to
And
just
very few tangible assets.
Yeah, exactly.
Stocks don't matter, dude.
Well, stocks don't matter. Internet companies don't matter when there's no internet. Yeah, like what are you going to do? Fucking give fucking X or Twitter, as it used to be called.
But no doubt
in the United States,
do much better than most people.
Oh yeah,
but I
sure.
think sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it. We're good.
I just think that you're right. That like it's not going to be. This exercise is almost kind of not necessary because the actual people who survive are going to be like, who's going to survive? The people we went and hung out with in fucking Houma, Louisiana. Those kids who were like 8 and 10 years old and didn't go to school and weren't ever going to go to school and weren't ever going to have a real job because all they do is cruise around and throw fucking crab traps into the fucking swamp at the beginning of the day and collect the crab traps at the end of the day and then cook food. And that's what they do. And they live off the fucking land. They might shoot an animal or something, an alligator or a deer or something, right? They might hunt. They might have a garden, right? Because those people are the type of people that history shows us the people who survive are least likely to survive are the people like the Bill Gates and the Kardashians, et cetera, because they're not necessary in the world after. Whereas the people who can grow the vegetables and get most of the calories they need off of the land, they're the ones that are going to be there 8 or 10 generations later when a new civilization emerges and tries to subjugate and or tax them, and they'll pay the taxes or the tribute or whatnot and continue doing what they had done for millennia. Because that's what peasants do.
Right. And I was watching an interesting video about the fall of Rome and how the barbarians were at the gate and the government said you can't have weapons and armor. And that seems to be the fear of a lot of people now is like, oh, the government continues to restrict our arms. And so if an outside entity, we're supposed to put all of our trust in the police and the army, the Navy, etc. But if an outside, entity were able to bypass all that, we wouldn't be prepared. Right. And what happened to Rome as, cities got failure after failure, to repel and death started to mount, a whole bunch of people just said, well, you can't tax me if I'm not part of your empire. I'm leaving. And they went to the outskirts and survived on the outskirts and just waited for the government to fail. And then as soon as it was possible, they just moved back in. But more tentatively for a while. And so if you look at history, it's all about massive, gatherings of people in small amounts of space, complete failure because apparently humans just can't get along with each other, and then moving to the outskirts and going back to a more subsistence lifestyle, and then getting tired of that and moving back in and starting the whole process again.
I think people all living in concentrated areas is a complex way of being. And I think it takes a lot of additional inputs to make that system work. And so when those inputs become less reliable, like inevitably like that, and it's just like civilizations breathe just like fucking everything else, man, in nature. Like,
I mean, in theory,
they get more complex and less complex.
Yeah.
They get bigger, they get smaller.
I mean, in theory, the economy of scale works and gets better and better as you get larger and larger, but it also gets more and more prone to failure from one small hiccup. And so, it's a calculated risk. And I think we've gone too far. If you watch our channel, you probably would agree that both of us, think maybe we've gone a little bit too far in centralizing power and need to distribute it back.
Yeah. Did you want to show anything else, or should we start wrapping?
I think we can wrap.
Okay. If you want to cue some music, I think that both of us, I think that we're pretty alienated. I think right now we hold a very low chance of survival for any length of time period. End of story.
We don't have
under ideal
groups.
conditions. get your good friends together. I do think we have enough skill and could have enough will to survive. As of right now, I have very little will to survive. I'm just saying. Yeah, play that really upbeat, funky music while I'm talking about.
Let's go, man. Let's talk about your imminent self-termination.
I just don't have that yet. It's funny. I have. I do, like, I obviously am taking steps to prepare myself and my family and the skills necessary. But like, what does it take? It takes a fucking really bad spring with disease and insects to make me lose all my fruit.
Well, and dude, this is why civilizations form. Like, it started off small. People got together and they're like, oh, we can rely on each other. And like, maybe I don't get that same disease, or I'm growing something different so it doesn't affect me. And it just gloms on, and it seems like a good idea. And then we get past a point where it's a good idea anymore. Like, there's a number, and people argue about it back and forth in many different spheres of scientific study about what the number is. But there's a number past which social cohesiveness breaks down. I think the agreed upon number for the individual is approximately 150 people you can have in your sphere of influence that you can deal with, and you'll divide them very onion-like into close and farther out groups. But once you get above 150, it gets beyond your reckoning. It's nothing to say about your intelligence or anything like that. It's just that's what we evolved with, and that's what we're stuck with for now. It's approximately 150 people. We can survive with much more. You just have to have a guarantee that people from each sphere are in contact with and heard and understood by people from outside the sphere in order to make sure it works. And as you get larger and larger, that becomes harder and harder to perform easily. And you get to the point where we are right now, where a whole lot of people are in the business of coordinating the wants and needs of their constituents, but failing for one reason or another, most often corruption and bribery, but possibly just because they're having to deal with corruption and bribery. There have been a lot of recent politicians on the younger side of things, and even some in the older who are more familiar with social media, who just post about everything that's going on, and they're like, I thought I was going to come in and just make a whole lot of changes, but it turns out there's all these rules, and if you don't play ball, you don't get put on committees, and so on and so forth. And so we've gotten past the point where we can function effectively, and we need to be smaller.
We need to balkanize.
We need to balkanize. I'm going to put that in there. In card, balkanize.
I love it. All right, well, this has been with Under Applause. Today we discussed surviving the apocalypse. I think I'm probably around 40 realistically. If I changed my mental state, even and barely begun to work on the physical fitness side, I think I'd probably be around what Joe Rogan is, 85. I'm definitely not going to be the first one dead in my neighborhood, just by virtue of having the desire to protect my children, right? That instinct to protect my children, but also because like I know at least a half a dozen edible weeds, and I know a bunch of other edible plants, and that already puts me ahead of like 85 or 90% of the people in town.
We had a bunch of miners let us grow up this year. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And I just got fucking they call it perpetual spinach, but it's basically just chard.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's a weed in my yard, and I just like kind of splash water on it to keep it going. So fucking weeds and greens, and I can say, oh, that's Doc, those seeds are edible, like just by virtue of knowing some edible weeds. Like I'm already gonna stay ahead. Plus I'm also having the prepping, we're canning meat, which is the hardest thing to come by, and then storing the grains, right?
We are steps away from doing mushrooms. I want to start. Yeah, I want to start in on that.
We'll definitely have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been with Thunderous Applause. Thanks for hanging out with us on our not live stream, airing Thursday, August the 17th, as I will be camping with my family. My daughter turns 10 next week. It's pretty exciting. And as always, we like to remind you that when liberty dies, it dies.
With Thunderous Applause.
See you later, buddy.
Later, y'all.
Peace. Survive that apocalypse.
Do some Baby Yoda.